Today I effed up by jamming my seatbelt in my car door. I was leaving for work and when I got in my car I accidentally jammed the seatbelt in the door. The seatbelt had jammed in such a way that the metal piece of the belt that clicks in was wedged between the car exterior and the door. I tried to open the door to get it out and it wouldn't open. I drove to work without a seatbelt, and when I got there I had to climb over the console and out the passenger door. When I got off work I tried to open from the outside to get in and still no luck. Once again I opened the passenger door and climbed into the driver's seat. I drove my car to the dealership the next day and pulled up to the service station. I rolled down my window and told the mechanics what happened. The guys all had a good laugh and told me they've never seen something like this before. They all tried to pull it open and couldn't. They told me that I could set up an appointment and they would essentially have to tear the door off the hinges and replace it. I wouldn't get a second opinion. The next mechanic told me there was nothing he could do. I was really starting to get worried at this point. I had one last place to try. I took my car to another shop that specializes in welding and odd jobs. I get up to the shop and a guy walks out to talk to me. I roll down my window to tell him what happened. He looks at my door in silence for about 10 seconds, then puts his arm through the window. He hits the unlock button and grabs the door handle and pulls. The door opens. We look at each other and I'm completely dumbfounded. I think he couldn't believe what he just witnessed. I get the hell out of there as fast I can, only hoping he didn't get a good look at my face. I just about died from humiliation. If you're wondering how I never unlock the door, well, I don't have a key fob, so I have to lock and unlock manually. How I never tried to actually unlock the door is beyond me. I am an idiot. TL. Drive. I jammed my seatbelt in the car door. I couldn't get the door to open. I took my car to a few mechanics and got quotes for tearing off and replacing the door. The last mechanic realized that my door was locked and had nothing to do with the seatbelt being jammed. The other mechanics should be even more embarrassed. That's the first thing they should have checked. It's funny, sometimes you're so focused on trying to find the solution that you ignore the obvious. This happens a lot with mechanics. Either that or the mechanic saw up as an easy mark and played along to try to get them to cough over a ridiculous amount. Honesty goes a long way. My car started having trouble, so I took it to the dealership. Based on Reddit posts, I was estimating it would cost $3,000 to fix more than half the car's value. The dealership found a loose wire and plugged it in for me. Issue went away and I only paid $60 for diagnostics. Yep. As a service advisor, I'd much rather build a trusting relationship with my customers than rip someone off to make a quick buck. The whole dishonest mechanic shtick is really overstated. Every place I've ever worked has quickly banished any dishonest service advisor or technician. Embarrassing things happen to all of us. That's life. If I were you, I would get a box of chocolates or whatever and bring it the third guy, telling him how embarrassed you were for not noticing. That's why you drove off so quickly. And thanking him for saving you a lot of money and trouble. Since the first two guys didn't notice either. You will probably laugh about it together. And all awkwardness is forgotten. That's the way to turn embarrassing memories into funny ones. Yeah, and TBH, he deserves. It's people like that don't charge for little jobs that have big impact. That they can solve as they think outside the box. I was once on my way to a ferry, $200 a ticket each way, and my bonnet flew up and wouldn't clip. I cabled tied it down and drowned into a town off about $200. As I knew they had a mechanic affiliated with my roadside assistance company, so hopefully taking it to his workshop meant he'd have all parts needed. They were closed, but there was a house attached out back, so I knock on the door and explained the situation with the boat, etc. He looked at it, said, yeah, the latch is broke. I told him about the boat and he said by the time I get a job authorization you'll have missed it, and so he put a new latch on and wouldn't take any money. I would have used him as the guy to service my vehicle as he's obviously honest, etc. But he was around 2 hours each way from my house. He ended up getting a $50 voucher for the supermarket in his town for Christmas from that guy who you helped make the ferry. Made it with 5 minutes to spare. I did thank him as much as I could at the time, but as I was interrupting his evening it was 8 p.m. and had a boat to catch. When you said bonnet I imagined an old-fashioned lady's hat and was really confused about why you went to a mechanic to fix it. Lol, as I guess you goggled, it's a synonym for hood. That is the most popular term in England and most Commonwealth countries. Undefined. I'm a lady. I do lady things. Lol, to think how much times have changed. Benny Hill would be crucified and Little Britain put in the stocks at the very least. I loved both shows, but at the same time things aren't as funny if they aren't aimed at you. As we no longer have blackface on TV, I don't know how seeing stuff mocking a key attribute of me would affect me. But I believe Little Britain at least was all in good fun. It was meant in jest and exaggerated to absurdum. Hey, at least you had the wherewithal to get a second opinion and not spend on an unnecessary car repair. Seriously. I would have probably paid the dealership. My BF did this exact speep with his jacket like 2 weeks ago. He ended up ripping the zipper off. He was super pissed off when he realized the door was only locked. It was his favorite jacket. You can lock jacket zippers. Or is that the term for when some fabric jams them? I am lost. Lol. I assumed the BF locked the car door while the jacket was stuck in between. You are a better assumer than me. It seems assuming makes an ass out of only me. No worries mate, I assumed the same speep as you. Let's put our dunces hats on and sit in the corner facing the corner. That'll bring our grades up. A content right here. Reminds me of a time I spent 45 minutes looking for, researching, and phoning various family members and friends in an attempt to locate a release lever for a rental car's gas tank. Realized after all of that time that it was one of those you just push down and it opens. Lol, that happened to me while looking to buy a new car. I looked for that stupid lever everywhere but just couldn't find it. Was pretty awkward asking the sales agent where it was, but I guess we all have something new to learn every day, haha. Exactly. And it's a pretty safe bet it's not the silliest thing that sales agent had seen/experienced. Back when I was an automotive technician, I had this car come in after the customer got a new battery. Concern was for the charging system as the car died after being parked with the brand new battery. After I jumped it, I noticed the open door light was illuminated. Turns out the owner would freaking slam the door on the seatbelt in the side frame. She managed to do this so much she dented the actual frame on the inside to a point where the switch that tells the car if the door is closed or not would no longer depress when the door was closed. I still am impressed by the sheer determination to have that happen. I'm trying to comprehend how and why someone would do that repeatedly. I've done that to my car quite a few times. The seatbelts occasionally just don't retract, and I've always got to slam the huge ass door just to get it to close, so it catches me out sometimes. I can actually believe this happened because something a little similar happened to me. Went to a club with some friends and I was designated driver. My first car used to have a mechanism to stop you locking the keys inside, no central locking. If you closed the door without the key, the lock would pop up. In case it was closed by accident, you could get around it by lifting the handle as you closed it, and I got used to doing this on autopilot. Got to the club, everyone bundles out, close the car, and I go to put my keys away and realize they're on the front seat. Damn it. It's freezing outside. We're standing around trying to figure out how I'm gonna get the keys out without smashing a window. At this point the car was so old that would probably have economically written it off. Calling recovery would have taken an age, and would have charged as it's not a breakdown, but idiot tax. I didn't want to call my mom to bring my spare key as she would have throttled me. We're trying to force the window down, pull a gap in the door from the top sill, wondering if the cloakroom will lend us a coat hanger to try and hook the keys out. Then one of the friends walks round to the passenger side and just opens the door. Turns out last one out forgot to lock it. Felt like a right idiot. I didn't drive my car for a few weeks because it wouldn't start. Found a friend of a friend who was a mechanic. Jumps in the car and puts the car from neutral to park and starts the car. I did this as a teenager. Drove an hour and a half to the nearest big city, lived in the Midwest, and saw a movie with some friends. After the movie I couldn't get my car to start. A nice man in his 40s came over to help and kindly pointed out that my car was in neutral. He was nice, but he still had a look that said stupid teenagers on his face. I went to a mechanic once because my windscreen wipers were only going once and then wouldn't go again, so I would have to manually push the lever. Super annoying. As I was explaining my problem to the mechanical, he adjusts little dial that apparently makes the wiper intervals longer or shorter. Instant fix. I had no idea this was a thing and I felt like such an idiot. I left the car asking for general checkup instead and jokingly asked him to stock me up on headlight fluid too. He laughed, but I think it was more pity than anything. Just don't put the brake light fluid in the headlight fluid spot. Then you'll only have red lights. This was a common practice in the 70s. Wait, what year is this? Looks around. There are hover cars around. I can't help but realize how dumb the first two mechanics were. And one of them was the dealership. Just to play devil's advocate, every car I've ever owned has unlocked the doors automatically when opened from the inside, going right back to a 2000 model. I'm in a 2002 Focus right now and it does this. I can think of a few that don't, but they automatically unlock when put in park. Wow. Even my 2005 Punto can't do that. Never buy a Fiat. Beyond Speep. What's funny about it is in cold climates with Speepty cars and Speepty seals, you'll still feel the door mechanism let go even if, say, the door is frozen shut. It's a different feel than the door being locked. Even if the door doesn't budge, the handle is just that slight bit heavier. The passenger door handle on my car is kinda stiff. Don't know if it's Speepty materials or just the way it is, but you have to properly tug it open from the outside before it budges. Multiple times I've gone to get something out the passenger side and unlocked, relocked, and unlocked the door again before I remember the handle is just speep. You should pay the guy who figured it out. Seriously. My trackpad to my Mac needed new batteries, which I replaced. Well, I could not get it to work. So I took it to my local Apple store to the Genius Bar. I explained the problem. He checked the batteries and then pushed the side of it to turn it on. WTH? I forgot to turn it on. I was so embarrassed. I thanked him and left. No electron flow. Oh man, this is hilarious. Definitely something I'd do for sure. Don't sweat it. That probably wasn't even the dumbest thing they saw that day. Folks who fix things for a living are used to people lying about, being ignorant of, or otherwise just leading them astray about whatever is wrong/happened. If anything, it's an indictment of the places you visited first that they didn't even check. And you found your new mechanic. This even if he didn't ask for money. I still would have paid the man. Lol, remind me of me and the boys in the late 90s. We had a LAN/house party overnight. Exhausted and hungover. Couldn't start my car to get home. 6 of the boys all couldn't. Called in a mobile roadside assistance. Car was left in drive. Doh. I spent so long driving manuals that when I first started driving an automatic again I had a habit of shifting from park to neutral before starting it. Wait a minute. Homer, are you just holding on to the can? Honestly, this is the most typical car story I've ever heard. Something goes wrong. The fix is projected to be thousands, yet upon closer inspection it's a 0 to 5 fix. Like a blown fuse or a locked door, haha. Glad you figured it out before you had your car torn to shreds.